Parashat Shemot. We begin a new book, the book of Exodus, and we move from the story of a family to the story of a nation. What is most interesting is that the difference between God in the book of Exodus and God in the book of Genesis is that God in the book of Genesis creates solo, creates the world, declares everything into being by himself, as it were. The God in the book of Exodus is a God of history. Ehyeh asher ehyeh, I will be what I will be, is the God of history. And history operates in concert with people. With the Jewish nation first and foremost, as the chosen people, with the leaders of the Jewish nation, but with powerful nations like Egypt and the other nations of the world as well. And so it's fascinating that when the Bible speaks of the birth of Moses in this week's biblical portion of Shemot, it doesn't really mention his pedigree. It opens chapter 2 of the book of Exodus, and a man from the house of Levi married a woman from the house of Levi. And she hid her son, who was Moses. But there is no real pedigree given. The pedigree is first given in chapter 6. Perhaps there's no real pedigree given because with a leader, it matters much less who your parents are, it matters who you are. But nevertheless, in chapter 6, we're told the entire genealogy, the roots of Moses and his brother Aaron and his sister Miriam, going all the way back to Jacob. But what I would like to understand is Moses and his brother and sister are the three most remarkable people in the Bible. Moses specifically, from now until the end of the Pentateuch, we hear only about Moses. He is center stage. He is the effectuator of freedom for the slaves, and he is the effectuator of God's Torah for posterity. Who were the parents who bore and raised such three remarkable leaders as Moses, Aaron, and Miriam? Now the truth is, I don't really know anything about the parents of Moses, who they were, what they did, how they came to have such a remarkable family. I don't know about the parents, but I do know about the grandparents. And I'll tell you why. Because in that same chapter 6 of Exodus, the parents of Moses, Miriam, and Aaron were Amram and Yocheved. Now I want you to picture something which may sound a little anachronistic, but not really. I said I don't know about the parents of Moses, I know about the grandparents. Imagine the ceremony of the circumcision for Moses' father. Imagine the ceremony for the Simchat Bat for Moses' mother. It took place in secret, fearful secret, in the midst of the terrible persecution against the Israelites. The Israelites were enslaved, the Israelites were oppressed, certainly the Israelite rituals were forbidden. If it was true during the communist regime, it was certainly true during the Pharaonic regime. And in the midst of all of this oppression, which seems as if the history of the Israelites has ended before it began, the parents of Moses' father gave him a name, Amram, exalted nation. And the parents of Moses' mother gave her a name, Yocheved, glory be to God, Kavod Ka, exalted nation, glory to God. The nation is being persecuted, enslaved unto death. The babies are being murdered into the Nile. But apparently the grandparents of Moses had a tradition going all the way back to the covenant between the pieces, that the Israelites would be persecuted, afflicted in a foreign country, and after much affliction, they would come out into freedom, and ultimately they would be returned to their homeland Israel. These grandparents had eternal faith. They believed, and they gave these names to their children. These grandparents were the ones who ultimately influenced Moses, Aaron, and Miriam to be great leaders of the Jewish people, and to instill upon the Jewish people an indomitable faith which has kept us going for the last 4,000 years, and especially which brought us back in our generation to Israel. What you see from this is the awesome power of grandparents. Shabbat Shalom from a very proud grandparent.